I am Andrea Brown. I am the Vice President of Digital Marketing at Certiverse. And if you are not yet familiar with Certiverse, we are an end-to-end self-service exam development and delivery platform. We would be happy to tell you a lot more about what we do and how we are enabling programs to do things with a greater level of innovation and a much faster speed to market. So if you would like to get in touch, you can check out certiverse.com and fill out the form to get more information. So we'll let our presenters introduce themselves. Thad, if you want to get started.
Yeah, hi everybody. My name is Thad Newton. I am now the Senior Director of Technical Training at a cybersecurity company called Proofpoint. I've been doing education for a while now. I've been in the IT industry for almost 25 years, most of that in education. Proofpoint as a cyber company is one of the leaders in the industry. We have 4,500 employees now. We have almost 1.5 million employees, or I'm sorry, customers. So we see huge amounts of data come through, and we do have now 87% of the Fortune 100 customers. I love being in the cyberspace. My original background was in networking. I started my career really with Cisco and was involved in their training and education business for a while. I've now been at Proofpoint for about 6 years, and we're now just starting to build and deliver technical certifications, which is why I'm here with the Certiverse team. So happy to see everybody.
Great. And Abby?
Hi, everyone. I'm Abby Esten, Attieh. I've been in the certification and credentialing industry for more than 20 years, nearly 25 years now, actually. I started on the vendor side a long time ago, developing exams in all sorts of industries, mostly professional certification. And then I moved to the client side of things, and I developed certification exams and managed programs there as well. And I'm now back on the vendor side of things. So right now, I work primarily with technology programs with in the IT industry for certifications and credentialing. But throughout my career, I've really worked in with all programs, professional certifications, IT, even regulatory programs. So wide range of experience.
Fantastic. And that kind of leads us into our Q&A. So basically, we will go through today. We just have a few questions already prepared and topics that we would like to talk about. So we will go through those. Again, welcome to share your thoughts and questions as we go. So we will get started with Abby, if you could kind of give us some insight into some of the key trends that you're seeing in certification programs across, industries like IT and allied health and finance that are really high growth and seeing a lot of change. And then secondarily, how are those trends, influencing the way that exams are being designed and delivered?
Yeah, so as I mentioned, I have a range of experience in all types of industries, but now I primarily work in the IT industry with IT certification programs, which I think is probably the ultimate high growth industry. Things are changing so rapidly, and that has a lot of implications on content and delivery as well for certification programs. But as you mentioned, there's other high growth industries as well. And I think that's because tech is touching all of those industries. So tech is touching the allied health industry. Tech is touching the financial industry. Tech is touching traditionally non-tech fields like building and construction trades. There's the equipment that is now using technology and AI, and really that changes the content that goes into those credentialing exams. So when you look at the second half of that question, or the second question in this topic, which is how are those trends influencing the way exams are designed and delivered, it's really a question of rapidly developing the content or changing and updating, refreshing that content. So the trend I think that I'm seeing a lot of in those industries, in those high growth industries, are refreshing that content faster and really almost having a more agile approach, almost a constant refreshing of exam items, um, exam content, and really just being able to make those changes faster and implement them and get them out to the candidate, have them on out there in the field on those certification exams. So it's really about being more agile, I think.
Great. And that, how is that, how are you seeing these trends as well affecting the certification industry or your program in particular?
Sure. Yeah, I absolutely agree. I think we started to see some of these things happen a few years ago, right? And what I'm seeing is a continued trend towards things like micro-credentialing, which, is just driven by the rapid pace of change. So, excuse me, if you look at how organizations are handling this pace of change, right? And of course, we can't talk about the future of certification without the AI conversation, right? And so, as Abby said, I mean, AI is an IT industry thing, but it touches so many other industries and is driving change in so many other industries. Um, so the effect AI is having is maybe not, I would say, fundamental change at this point, but really accelerating that rapid pace of change. One of the things that we're looking at, and I think most education organizations are looking at, is how do we how do we retool our teams to be able to respond faster, right? And I think we've always, at least I've worked in software for a long time. When Agile became prominent, we all had to kind of think about, all right, now how do we retool our teams to be able to respond to Agile software development, which means, wow, we got to release new trainings on new features that are now being released in much more frequent cycles. But this is just going to get faster and faster with AI. Fortunately, what AI provides for us is new tools and ways to be able to also respond to the changes faster and deliver, updates to our users faster. So I still think we're going to see knowledge delivered in smaller chunks. And if you look at this from the I guess knowledge checker exams perspective, that means that we'll see more frequent updates. And again, fortunately, the AI tools that we're seeing come into the market are going to enable us to do that and respond faster.
Yeah, and I think if I can just add some things on that, you have a good point with the micro credentials, and not just micro credentials, but
Mhm.
stackable things
Yeah.
too, right? Because we were talking a little bit before this webinar started, privately, just the panelists talking about attention span. And so that plays into it too, right? Things are rapidly changing, our attentions are rapidly changing, and sometimes that goes into how we approach our professional life and gaining our credentials. So we want to be agile in our pursuit of credentials as well. And so I think a lot of organizations are seeing the need for that micro credentialing, but also micro and stackable so that you can work toward um, your goal, but also have those stackable credentials also work toward multiple goals at the same time, right? You can go a few different paths with those stackable credentials. And then on the content side, as you're saying, just, from a vendor standpoint, that drives us for the innovation to be able to have a platform that is conducive to developing things rapidly, right? Like, not having to move content, for instance. So that drives us to develop something on one platform that's a little more streamlined or a lot more streamlined. Develop, self-service plays into this as well. So having
Mhm.
vendors develop ways for the clients to be able to go in and do things themselves, not have to wait on vendors to do things. Because if it's some content changes and they need to rapidly develop those exams and then put them into the marketplace, self-service is a big piece of that too, or at least having a flexible, fast responding vendor to help you out with that as well.
Oh, great. Mhm. on to our next topic. So, and these are all, I think we're all going to find a lot of interweaving and connections between these points, but just advancing that a little bit as we're, creating this new content, moving things forward. Um, how are we ensuring that those programs are still relevant and valuable in these industries when there is so much change? How are we avoiding change for change's sake, and providing the research in the background and the expertise to really make sure that the certifications are lining up with the needs of the industry? If that, you want to start off on that one?
Yeah, sure. So, I mean, the secret to staying relevant is knowing your customers and knowing your market, right? I mean, I can't emphasize enough the importance of maintaining your customer relationships, talking to your customers, staying laser focused on what success looks like for them and what's happening in their markets, right? Um, you know, follow market trends, obviously. Listen to your SME group, right? I mean, none of us can build these assessments alone. We all rely on subject matter experts, and usually those people are pretty plugged into what's going on with your customers and what's going on in the market. I would also say, you know, follow your processes, right? I mean, I I love the JTA process. It's funny. It's a simple thing. We've done it for so long, but if you do a really good JTA, that gets you zeroed in on what is relevant, right? For your user, and so staying zeroed in on your users by following best practices in terms of developing your exams and your content. Um, and then just paying attention to changes, right? How are the exams performing? What are your customers saying? What feedback are you seeing? What's happening in the market? You just have to pay attention to all of that. It's a lot, right? Easier said than done. But maintaining those customer relationships, I think, again, is extremely important. And then using all of that data to make decisions on, when and how to pivot to continue to keep yourself relevant.
Right. Abby, do you have additional thoughts on that?
No, just really to reiterate that I love the emphasis on data. I mean that's really what you need to use. Strong data analytics and business intelligence reports and making sure you understand where your certification program is, but also, you know, I don't know if it's relevant to you, to your industry. Think about employment trends and is that in the future going to make your certification, your credential irrelevant? So really just understanding where your industry is going as well as where your current program is. Advisory boards are good. It's all about data to prove where you are, but also perception. So, advisory boards are great for that. Having stakeholders, vocal stakeholders, can help ensure you remain relevant. Influencer is a very modern term, but we all have those people in the organization who are maybe more vocal about something with their certification programs. And so just making sure that you're keeping tabs on what people are saying and trying to address those really has an impact on relevancy.
Yeah,
Well, and even, I'm sorry, not to interrupt, but to say even the fact that just bringing up a JTA from the perspective of that being the default in the process, which isn't always everyone's process. So really going back and thinking about what those pieces are as well.
yeah, I've just in most of my career found huge value in staying really focused on who it is you're building this for, what are their needs, what are the things that they need to be successful, and then focusing the program around that. I love talking to customers, and we've had good success with customer advisory boards. My company does them. We've also done some that are just the education business will reach out and do customer advisory boards. And then every time I can get to a live event, one of my favorite things is just, talking to customers and asking them questions about, what was their experience, training with us? What was their experience with the exam? What's your feedback? And they will tell you, right? And you'll get really, really good information if you listen. That combined with the data, right, that you're getting from all of your other systems and things will give you good indicators of, whether you're relevant and tracking accordingly or not.
Right. We'll kind of loop you back a little bit. We sort of touched on some of these things lightly, and we can kind of dive in a little bit more. So, what role does innovation like AI and automation and the various actual ways those are used as opposed to just kind of the top level understanding of a chat GPT sort of situation. How are those things playing into making certifications more accessible, scalable, and secure? I know security is, obviously a big topic for us here, um, and as well just how, in general, we have some specific ideas about how it's affecting exams, but feel free to expand on that as well. So, Abby,
Yeah,
what are you seeing?
I can start. I see a lot of, as you have written here on the question, increased scalability for sure. We all know AI is helping to make content development way more rapid, exam building more rapid, more automated. Um, Everyone's familiar with, the concept of maybe adding some AI into the proctoring space. But there's also a lot more that can be done with AI, that's maybe not as scary. That kind of scares some people using the AI for the content development or AI solely for proctoring. But you can take pieces of that and use it for to help scale your programs and make them more secure and accessible. So you don't need to go in all in on the AI. You can use the AI to help develop content. For instance, in our platform, you can choose to use it or not use it, but you can use it to help develop some content. But then we make a human actually review that. And so you don't have to rely totally on the AI if that's a little scary to you. Same thing with proctoring. You can just use the AI to kind of inform proctors, do some behavior analysis, do some chatbot kind of things, or have the proctor be able to communicate with the candidate in a different language, if even if they don't speak that language. And so there's a lot of ways that you can incorporate AI that maybe isn't as scary and can actually make your exams more secure. Of course, more accessible because for that example that I used of translating the language, for instance, and definitely more scalable, especially when you see it content wise.
Great. That, how are you seeing this play out as well?
Yeah, I totally understand the view of some folks that AI, can be a little scary and is going to change how we do things. I have to say I'm more excited right now about where we are in the education industry than I have ever been because the education industry was not really known, frankly, for rapid innovation, right? Compared to some other industries, we tended to do things the same way for many years, and there's reasons for that. But when AI came on the scene, I mean, we immediately recognized its impact on the learning industry in particular, right? And so I was like really excited. Finally, I'm like, finally, we get a big breakthrough that will really, really move the needle for training and education. And it's starting to. I mean, clearly the big impact is, as Abby said, accelerating what we're doing. So speeds content development, speeds exam development. We were able to do in 4 or 5 months. We built two brand new certification exams in parallel with a very small team in around 5 months' time. Not so many years ago, right, that same effort would have taken, 8, 12 months at least. So clearly those benefits are very real. Um, and then for us, I think another exciting piece of it is on the proctoring side, it drives global scale, right? I mean, with AI proctoring now, no one has to go to a test center. We can reach literally a global audience overnight with AI proctoring. And I work for a cybersecurity company, right? We take all of the security stuff very seriously, and it works well, right? I've been happy with what I've seen from the proctoring perspective. So, no, I think honestly, it's going to speed up what we're doing and enable us to scale in a global way much faster than we would have been able to before.
Fantastic. Well, speaking of scaling, what are the challenges that organizations are facing when they are, building and updating, and what are the strategies that are going to help overcome these obstacles? What are the things that are becoming available, or the changes in certification options that are making it a little easier to jump over some hurdles that may have existed before?
Mhm. Yeah, I can jump in. So I think a lot of us face the same obstacles, right? When I talk to other peers who work in this industry, we all have the same issues, right? A lot of it is around resources. Very few points in my career have I been able to say I have all the money and all the people I need to build exactly what I want, right? It just doesn't happen. And so I think, to get around those. Innovation, technology, AI is going to help with that, right? Enabling us to build stuff faster and more efficiently is only going to help. Um, I think to get around some of those things in this space, you have to continue to make yourself relevant, right? So to get the resources you need to do what you want, make sure your training and education program is relevant, first of all, and you can do that by really again knowing your audience, knowing your market, making sure you are building something that adds value to your customers and value to your own business. um, Associating certification with other programs in your company, partnering with services, with support, excuse me, with your partner ecosystem if your company does a lot with the channel. Excuse me. And continuing to kind of build those internal advocates will help you get over the resource challenges. Some of the other challenges that I have encountered and that I hear about are, I guess, on a more tactical level, uh, you know, SME engagement sometimes is challenging, and uh, I've heard lots of ways to try to incentivize SMEs to continue to contribute to programs. We've had the best luck with just spending the time to reach out to every one of them and make sure they understand the positive impact that they're making on the program. Again, it's about fostering those relationships, right? With your customers, with your partners, with your internal SMEs. If you can continue to build really good, positive relationships with them, then they'll continue to come back again and again as you build programs and help you contribute to those. Um, Challenges again, I think we've kind of touched on it already, right? The rapid pace of change is not a new one, but I think one that is accelerating. And again, because we're talking about trends in the market, I think that's going to continue to accelerate. But again, we've got new innovations in AI-based tools to help us kind of retool and our processes and pivot and try and keep up with that rate of change.
Great.
I think listening to Thad talk, it really boils down to, which is something we've been working on at Sortiverse too, but it really boils down to time and cost and maybe reach. But I think mostly time and cost. Time to develop, time to the time it takes to update exams, because that goes into that rapid change. And then the cost that it takes to develop exams and the ongoing costs to refresh that content, whether you do it rapidly or not. That's always a challenge for an organization. Like Thad said, you never have, the budget you want or the budget you need. So I think it really boils down to time and cost. And from a vendor standpoint, it's again the same stuff we've been talking about, which is automation and leverage technology to do those things, to streamline things, take out all of the not all of the, but many of the places where you need human involvement to do mundane things. Like, yes, we need humans to help develop that content, but if we can help that move along a little faster, or cut out some points where someone has to, physically, like take exam content out of one platform and move it into a next, QC content, things like that. That's really where we can see that streamlining that affects the time and cost, that we can really help organizations to overcome those obstacles. So I think those are important.
And I think, that made a great point too. It's like we have AI, we have the innovation and the technology and the tools to make a lot of the processes go faster, which gives us more time to build the relationships and do the personal contact that, creates a much richer and more sustainable certification program.
That's right. That's really important to mention too. It's not just about like, I don't want to take the time to develop this program. So this is great. Let's just use technology. No, it's because you can use that time for other things. You can be more strategic about your program. You can have those on-site conversations, those advisory boards. You can look at your program analytically and figure out where it's going so you can future-proof it. It's about using those resources, whether it's time resources, financial resources, or even your SME pool, your advisory time, to really make your program better and to address the needs of your constituents. So it's streamlining for a reason, not just because you want extra time. It's not because you want to like be done with it. It's really being more strategic about your program, I think.
Great. Well, we did have a question come in. I'm going to kind of skip to the discussion portion. Going back a little bit to when we were talking about, rapid content development and, speeding up the amount and the level of content generation, how are we able to do that but still maintain issues like ISO credential certification? And sorry, I can't get exactly to the question, so I'm paraphrasing. But from the standards organizations, how are you moving more quickly with content, but still maintaining
Compliance
mhm.
with ISO? Thad, I don't know if you have experience with that. I don't know if your programs are ISO compliant or anything like that. I will say I can see how that could be a very good question.
Mhm.
I don't know if I
Yeah,
have the answer for that, because I think that's almost like a analytical, you need a psychometrician also to help with that answer. But
yeah.
Thad, do you have any experience with that?
A while ago, so Proofpoint in this program that I work in now is not an ISO program, but years ago, Cisco certainly was, and I'll try to answer. I mean, what I recall from maintaining ISO compliance is, yeah, you have a certain set of guidelines and rules that you have to work within, right? And if you want to maintain your ISO compliance, then you have to work within those rules and guidelines. So the only thing I could offer is to say, make sure and be creative and think about how you can track all of the changes that you're making within, your recommended guidelines. I mean, that becomes important in an ISO audit. Be able to show everything that you've tracked and changed and all of that, if it comes to audit time.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Well, I'm not seeing anything else in the chat. Actually, I'm going to stop sharing just to make sure that I can see that. But if you do have any other questions, you can reach out to either of our panelists. All their information is on LinkedIn, or you can also reach us at answers@certiverse.com. And yeah, looks like we are. Ooh, oh, well, there's a Q&A hiding in there. Okay, so if y'all have one more moment, it says that the multiple choice question is no longer an effective method of testing given the availability of knowledge at your fingertips. What trends are you seeing in advanced testing models to assess competency?
Hmm. That's a great question. So I have a couple answers. First, I'm not sure if I'm completely in line with the idea that multiple choice testing is, not effective anymore. I think we're still able to write pretty effective multiple choice questions, and I still see them used a lot in exams. However, I will agree that there's, with new tools, new thinking, There certainly are additional ways to provide really good assessment questions that aren't the traditional multiple choice ones. Yeah,
Yeah, and especially with the use of AI now, there's a lot of interesting ways that you can get at that content. Yeah.
Everything keeps moving.
Everything keeps
All
moving.
right. Well, thank you all so much. Thank you to our panelists. And again, we will actually be back on February 19th with our next webinar, which will be focusing on launching new certifications, either an entirely new program or just exams within a program. So we hope you will join us there. And thank you so much. Y'all have a great day.
thanks everybody.
Thanks.